The twin moons of Terra Nova cast their silver light across the crystalline spires of Lamaria, the capital city of the Celestian civilization. Arya Starweaver stood at the observation deck of the Diplomatic Corps headquarters, her iridescent skin shimming faintly in the moonlight as she prepared for the most important mission of her career. "Remember, Arya," First Counselor Theron's voice echoed in her mind through their telepathic link, "humans are unpredictable. Your task is to study their technological advancement while maintaining appropriate distance. No emotional entanglements." Arya adjusted her ceremonial robes, their flowing fabric resembling liquid starlight. As the youngest xenoanthropologist ever appointed to Earth, she carried the weight of centuries of Celestian tradition. Their civilization had watched humanity for millennia, monitoring their progress from afar, but recent breakthroughs in human space travel had forced the Celestians to reconsider their policy of non-intervention. The transport beam enveloped her in a cocoon of light, depositing her moments later in a hidden facility beneath the United Nations building in New York. Arya activated her human disguise, a biotechnological marvel that transformed her ethereal appearance into that of a tall woman with olive skin and dark hair, though nothing could completely hide the otherworldly grace of her movements. Nathan Parker was running late to the most classified meeting of his life. His breakthrough in quantum propulsion technology had attracted attention from the highest levels of government, but no one would tell him why. He sprinted through security checkpoints, his disheveled appearance marking him clearly as a scientist rather than a bureaucrat. "Dr. Parker," General Roberts greeted him with unusual warmth. "Thank you for joining us. There's someone you need to meet." Nathan's world shifted on its axis the moment he saw her. The woman standing before him carried herself with impossible grace, and though she appeared human, something about her presence made the air itself seem to shimmer. "I am Arya Starweaver, representative of the Celestian Diplomatic Corps," she introduced herself, her voice carrying musical undertones that no human voice could produce. "Your work on quantum propulsion has drawn our attention." Nathan almost dropped his tablet. "You're not human," he managed to say, earning a small smile from Arya. "Indeed not. My people have watched humanity's progress for generations. Your recent achievements suggest you may be ready for more direct contact." Over the next few hours, Arya explained the basics of Celestian civilization, their advanced technology, their strict social hierarchy, and their ancient laws governing interaction with other species. Nathan found himself captivated not just by the information, but by Arya herself. The way her eyes lit up when discussing scientific principles, the subtle ways her human disguise flickered when she grew excited. "Your quantum propulsion theory," she said, projecting a hologram of his engine design, "is remarkably close to our early stellar drive systems. With some refinement, it could revolutionize human space travel. Would you be willing to help refine it?" Nathan asked, surprising both himself and the military officials present. "A collaboration, I mean. For the benefit of both our species." Arya hesitated, her training warning against too much involvement. But something about Nathan's earnest enthusiasm resonated with her. "I will need to consult with the council," she said carefully. "But I believe such cooperation could be beneficial." As the meeting concluded, Nathan gathered his courage. "Would you like to see my lab? The practical applications of the theory might interest you." Arya knew she should decline. The council's rules about fraternization were clear. Yet she found herself nodding. "For research purposes, of course." "Of course," Nathan agreed, trying to hide his smile. In his lab, surrounded by humming equipment and holographic displays, they forgot about protocols and species barriers. They talked for hours about quantum mechanics, spatial theory, and the poetry of physics. Nathan found himself sharing his dreams of reaching the stars, while Arya spoke of distant worlds she had visited. "Your people see the universe differently than we do," Arya observed, watching Nathan sketch modifications to his engine design. "Where we seek perfect order, you embrace chaos and find beauty in imperfection." Maybe we could learn from each other, Nathan suggested softly, his hand accidentally brushing hers as he reached for a tablet. The touch sent a jolt through both of them. Arya quickly withdrew her hand, her human disguise flickering momentarily to reveal her true form, a being of light and crystal. I should go, she said, her voice unsteady. The council will be expecting my report. As she prepared to leave, Nathan called out, "Will I see you again?" Arya paused at the door, knowing she should maintain professional distance, knowing the laws of her people forbade what she was already beginning to feel. "The project will require regular consultation," she said formally, then added in a softer tone, "Tomorrow, perhaps?" After she departed, Nathan stared at his engine designs, modified by their discussion. In the margins, he had unconsciously sketched her true form, crystalline and luminous, more beautiful than any human imagination could have conceived. In her private chamber that evening, Arya prepared her report to the council, carefully omitting any mention of the warmth she had felt in Nathan's presence, the way his mind sparked with creativity and passion. Such feelings were forbidden, she reminded herself. Yet as she gazed at the earth hanging like a blue jewel in the night sky, she couldn't help but wonder if some rules were meant to be broken. The seeds of revolution often begin with a simple question, a moment of doubt, a touch that defies the laws of worlds. Neither Arya nor Nathan realized it yet, but their meeting would change not just their lives, but the destiny of two civilizations. The quantum lab hummed with energy as Nathan made final adjustments to the experimental drive system. 3 months had passed since his first meeting with Arya, and their collaboration had progressed faster than anyone expected. However, it wasn't just the technology that was evolving rapidly. "The particle alignment is still off by 0.03 degrees, Arya observed, her holographic display showing a complex matrix of quantum signatures. She stood close to Nathan, close enough that he could detect the faint shimmer of her true form beneath her human disguise. "Maybe that's not a flaw," Nathan suggested, running calculations through his computer. "What if we're thinking about this too rigidly? Sometimes imperfection creates possibilities we never considered." Arya tilted her head, a gesture Nathan had come to recognize as her processing new ideas. "Celestian science seeks perfect symmetry," she said, but her tone held a note of uncertainty. "Yet the universe itself isn't perfectly symmetrical," Nathan countered, pulling up images of spiral galaxies and nebulae. "Look at the beauty in its chaos." Their hands brushed as they both reached to adjust the holographic display. Neither pulled away immediately. The touch lingered, electric with unspoken possibilities. "Nathan," Arya began, her voice soft, "there are things you should understand about my people. Our laws regarding interaction with other species aren't just guidelines. They're fundamental to our social order." "Because you think we're too primitive?" There was no bitterness in his question, only curiosity. "Because we fear change," she admitted, surprising herself with her honesty. "Our civilization has maintained stability for millennia by adhering to strict protocols. Emotional attachments between species, they're seen as a threat to that stability." Nathan turned to face her fully. "Is that what this is? An emotional attachment?" Before Arya could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The quantum drive had begun to oscillate unexpectedly, its energy signature climbing rapidly. "The containment field is failing," Nathan shouted, rushing to the control panel. "The quantum matrix is collapsing." Without hesitation, Arya dropped her human disguise, her true form blazing with crystalline energy. She pressed her hands against the drive housing, her natural ability to manipulate quantum fields allowing her to stabilize the reaction. The effort was enormous, and Nathan watched in awe as pure energy coursed through her translucent form. When the crisis passed, Arya swayed on her feet. Nathan caught her before she could fall, holding her crystalline form in his arms. For a moment, neither moved, both acutely aware of the intimacy of their position. "You shouldn't have done that," Nathan whispered. "Someone could have seen you in your true form." I couldn't let you die, Arya replied simply, her voice carrying harmonics that her human disguise usually concealed. The moment was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Celestian Council. Arya's form flickered as she received the message telepathically, her expression growing troubled. They know, she said, quickly reassuming her human appearance. The council monitored the energy surge. They're demanding I return immediately for questioning. Don't go, Nathan said impulsively, then caught himself. I mean, we're close to a breakthrough. The project needs you. Arya touched his cheek gently, her fingers slightly cooler than human normal. It's not just the project anymore, is it? Before Nathan could respond, she activated her transport beam. As her form began to dissolve in shimmering light, she whispered, "Wait for me." On Lumaria, the council chamber was dark and imposing. First Counselor Theron's voice echoed through the vast space. You exposed your true form to a human. You used your abilities to interact directly with their technology. Do you deny these violations? I acted to prevent a catastrophic accident, Arya stated firmly. The quantum drive technology is too important to lose. Your neural patterns show elevated emotional responses in the human's presence, another council member observed. You're developing feelings for this Nathan Parker. My feelings are irrelevant, Arya responded, struggling to maintain her diplomatic composure. The collaboration is producing valuable results. Perhaps too valuable, Theron mused. Humanity may not be ready for such rapid advancement. And you, Arya Starweaver, may not be ready for this level of interaction with them. You're reassigning me? Arya felt her heart sink. We're terminating the project, Theron corrected. Your expertise is needed elsewhere. There are promising species in the Andromeda Galaxy requiring observation. Humans are ready for contact, Arya protested. They're capable of so much more than you realize. Nathan's work proves that. Your use of his familiar name proves our point, Theron said softly. You're compromised, Arya. The decision is final. Back in her private chambers, Arya paced restlessly. The council's decision felt wrong on a fundamental level. She thought of Nathan, of the passion and creativity he brought to their work, of the way he saw beauty in imperfection. She thought of his touch, warm against her crystalline skin. Her communication device chimed, a message from Nathan, the drive is stable. Whatever you did saved it. But that's not why I'm messaging. I miss you. Arya pressed her hand against the glowing text, feeling the weight of centuries of tradition pressing against the new emotions blooming in her heart. The Council's laws had preserved their civilization for millennia. But as she stared at Nathan's message, she wondered if preservation without growth was just another form of decay. She began composing her response, knowing that every word brought her closer to a decision that would change everything. Sometimes, she realized, love wasn't about finding perfection, it was about embracing the beautiful chaos of possibility. In the depths of the United Nations Quantum Research Facility, Nathan worked through another sleepless night. 2 weeks had passed since Arya's sudden departure, and the Quantum Drive project had stalled without her insights. But it wasn't the technical problems keeping him awake, it was the growing suspicion that there was more to the Celestian civilization's interest in Earth than they had revealed. He had begun noticing patterns in the quantum signatures their experiments had generated, patterns that seemed oddly familiar. Ancient cave paintings, mysterious archaeological sites, myths of crystalline beings across cultures, all somehow connected to the quantum frequency that Arya's people used for communication. Security access granted, the computer announced as Nathan entered a restricted database. His fingers flew across the holographic keyboard, correlating data from archaeological sites worldwide. The results made his heart race. Meanwhile, on Lumaria, Arya was conducting her own investigation. Her reassignment to the Andromeda project had given her access to the ancient archives, vast crystalline databases containing the complete history of her people. Something about Nathan's quantum drive design had awakened a memory, a fragment of historical data she had once glimpsed in her studies. Display historical record 7249 alpha, she commanded. The archive crystal pulsed with light, projecting images of ancient Celestian expeditions. Her breath caught as she saw it, quantum signatures identical to Nathan's drive design, recorded from Earth thousands of years ago. Impossible, she whispered, but the evidence was undeniable. The humans hadn't nearly discovered Celestian technology, they were remembering it. Her private communicator chimed, displaying a message from Nathan, "Need to talk. Found something incredible. Same frequency, secure channel." Breaking at least a dozen council regulations, Arya established a quantum link. Nathan's hologram appeared in her chamber, his expression intense. "Arya, you won't believe what I've discovered. Your people have been to Earth before, haven't they? Not just observing, but interacting." "I'm looking at the proof right now," she replied, sharing her archive display. "Nathan, this goes deeper than we thought. The quantum resonance patterns in your drive, they're not just similar to our technology. They're exactly the same. Because they're based on genetic memory," Nathan said excitedly. "I've found references in every ancient culture, stories of crystalline beings who taught humans about the stars. Your people didn't just visit Earth, did they? They helped shape our civilization." Arya's mind raced. The council, they must know about this. But why hide it? Why maintain such strict separation if we were once so closely connected? "Unless something happened," Nathan suggested. "Something that made your people retreat, make laws against interaction." Before Arya could respond, alarm crystals throughout the archive chamber began pulsing red. "Someone's detected our communication," she said urgently. "Nathan, I have to." The hologram cut off as the chamber doors slid open. First Counselor Theron stood there, flanked by security officers, their crystalline armor glowing with contained energy. "Arya Starweaver," Theron's voice was heavy with disappointment. "You've accessed restricted historical records and established unauthorized contact with a human. These are serious violations. Is it true?" Arya demanded, her fear giving way to anger. "Did we abandon humanity? Are all our laws based on a historical lie?" "The truth is more complex than you could understand," Theron replied. "The separation was necessary for both species' survival." "I don't believe you," Arya said. "Show me the complete records. We deserve to know our true history." "Your emotional attachment to this human has clouded your judgment," Theron signaled to the security officers. "You will be confined to the meditation chambers until you remember your duty to our people." But Arya was ready. She had learned more than quantum physics from Nathan, she had learned to embrace uncertainty, to act on instinct. In a burst of crystalline energy, she overloaded the archive systems. As alarms blared and lights flickered, she activated her personal transport beam. She rematerialized in Nathan's lab, her sudden appearance sending papers flying. Nathan jumped from his chair, then rushed to steady her as she stumbled. "The council will track me here," she said breathlessly. "But I had to warn you. There's something they're hiding about our shared history, something big enough to break their own laws to keep secret." "Then we'll find out what it is together," Nathan said, taking her hand. "I've already contacted some colleagues, archaeologists, historians, quantum physicists. Whatever happened between our people in the past, it left traces we can track." Arya looked at their joined hands, crystal and flesh, so different yet somehow fitting perfectly together. "They'll try to stop us," she warned. "The council has ways of making people forget." Nathan smiled grimly. "That's the thing about humanity that your council doesn't understand. The more someone tries to make us forget something, the harder we work to remember it." Outside, storm clouds gathered as if reflecting the growing tension between worlds. In her heart, Arya felt the first tremors of what was to come, a revolution that would shake both civilizations to their core. The Council had maintained order through separation and secrets, but they had forgotten one crucial truth: love had a way of breaking every barrier, even those built by ancient laws and quantum physics. As security alerts began blaring throughout the facility, Arya and Nathan shared a look of determination. They had unknowingly stumbled upon the greatest secret in human history, and now they had to choose: preserve the comfortable lies of the past, or fight for a future where their peoples could come together again, no matter the cost. The quantum research facility had become a fortress. Government vehicles surrounded the building, their lights cutting through the rain-soaked night. Inside, Nathan and Arya worked frantically to decrypt the ancient data they'd pieced together from both human and Celestian sources. "The quantum signatures are getting stronger," Nathan said, watching energy patterns pulse across his screens. "It's like the whole planet is resonating with some kind of stored memory." Arya's crystalline form glowed brighter as she interfaced directly with the quantum drive. "These aren't just memories," she gasped. "They're activation codes. The Celestians didn't just visit Earth, they left something here. Something powerful." Suddenly, the facility's power grid fluctuated. Through the windows, they could see brilliant streams of light descending from the clouds, Celestian ships dropping their cloaking fields. "The Council isn't just trying to keep us apart anymore," Arya said grimly. "They're trying to prevent something from awakening." The lab doors burst open as General Roberts rushed in, his face tense. "We've got multiple unidentified craft entering Earth's atmosphere. The Security Council is demanding answers." "It's complicated," Nathan started, but alarms cut him off. The quantum drive was pulsing with unprecedented energy, its signature matching the mysterious patterns they discovered in ancient sites worldwide. "Nathan," Arya's voice held a note of awe. "Look at these readings. The quantum resonance, it's not just similar to Celestian technology. It's exactly the same frequency as our genetic code." Before Nathan could respond, a familiar voice filled the room. "And now you understand why the separation was necessary." First Counselor Theron materialized in the center of the lab, his crystalline form radiating authority. "Humans and Celestians aren't just two species who once cooperated," Theron continued. "We're two halves of the same whole. Our ancestors split their essence, hiding half in human form, to protect our combined power from those who would abuse it." The laws against interaction, Arya realized. They weren't about superiority or fear. They were to prevent reunification, Nathan finished. Because if humans and Celestians came together again. The quantum drive surged, responding to their shared understanding. Energy patterns that had laid dormant in human DNA for millennia began to awaken, resonating with Celestian quantum frequencies. "The universe wasn't ready for our combined potential," Theron explained. "Our ancestors chose separation as a safeguard. But now, because of your bond, the process of reunification has begun." Outside, the storm intensified. Worldwide, ancient sites began pulsing with quantum energy. Humans everywhere reported strange sensations, memories of crystal cities and starlight becoming flesh. "You have to stop this," Theron commanded. "The change could tear both our worlds apart." But Nathan and Arya stood firm, their hands clasped. Where their skin touched, energy sparked, human warmth and crystalline light merging into something new. "Maybe that's exactly what both our peoples need," Arya challenged. "We've hidden behind laws and lies for too long. Look at what we've achieved together, even limited by artificial barriers." "The separation was never meant to be permanent," Nathan added, understanding flowing between them. "Your ancestors must have known someday we'd be ready to reunify." The quantum drive's energy expanded, forming a sphere of pure potential around them. In that moment, both human and Celestian technology worldwide began to synchronize, responding to the resonance between Nathan and Arya. "If you do this, there's no going back," Theron warned. both our civilizations will change forever. They already have, Arya said softly. The moment we chose love over law. Nathan squeezed her hand, feeling the boundary between flesh and crystal becoming meaningless. Sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't about finding something new, he said. They're about remembering what was lost. The energy sphere pulsed, expanding outward. Around the world, humans and Celestians felt the change beginning, not a hostile takeover or a loss of identity, but an awakening to greater possibility. General Roberts watched in amazement as his own hand briefly crystallized, then returned to normal. What's happening to us? Evolution, Arya answered. Or more accurately, re-evolution. We're becoming what we were always meant to be. The storm broke, stars becoming visible through dissipating clouds. In that moment of clarity, both species began to remember, not just their shared past, but their potential future. The barrier between worlds hadn't protected them, it had limited them, keeping apart two halves of a greater whole. Theron watched as the change spread, his opposition fading in the face of undeniable truth. The love between Arya and Nathan hadn't just broken laws, it had awakened something written in the quantum fabric of both species, a destiny too long denied. As the night deepened, the old world began to transform. In laboratories and living rooms, board rooms and back alleys, humanity began to remember its crystalline heritage. And in the hidden cities of the Celestians, ancient forms began to pulse with newfound warmth, remembering what it meant to be human. The revolution they had sparked wasn't just about love between two people. It was about healing an ancient division, about choosing truth over tradition, growth over stagnation. As dawn approached, Earth's sky filled with Celestian ships, not as invaders, but as returning family, coming home at last to complete a reunion millennia in the making. 1 year after the Great Awakening, Earth's skyline had transformed. Crystalline spires now rose alongside steel skyscrapers, their surfaces reflecting both sunlight and the quantum energies that now flowed freely between human and Celestian technologies. In the garden of one such hybrid structure, Arya and Nathan sat together, their forms shifting subtly between flesh and crystal as naturally as breathing. The Integration Council wants your input on the new education protocols, Nathan said, projecting a hologram from his partially crystalline hand. They're particularly interested in your experience as the first to bridge our worlds. Arya smiled, watching a group of children playing nearby. Some appeared fully human, others sparkled with crystalline features, and most shifted between states as they played, their young minds naturally accepting their dual heritage. Tell them to focus on balance, she replied. We're not becoming purely Celestian or remaining merely human. We're finally becoming whole. The past year had brought changes neither of them could have imagined. The quantum resonance that began with their love had spread globally, awakening dormant genetic memories in both species. But rather than chaos, it had led to an unprecedented renaissance of art, science, and culture. The Mars colonization project is ahead of schedule, Nathan continued, his excitement evident in the way his form sparkled. Turns out combining human ingenuity with Celestian quantum engineering makes terraforming much more efficient. Speaking of combining things, Arya said, producing a small crystal that pulsed with warm, organic light, the genetic sequencing is complete. The doctors say we're compatible. Our child will be the first naturally born of both worlds. Nathan's eyes widened, his human emotions creating ripples of light across his partially crystalline form. He placed his hand over the crystal, feeling the tiny quantum signature within, their baby's first heartbeat translated into pure energy. The council was wrong, he said softly. They thought unity would weaken us, but look at everything we've achieved in just 1 year. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of First Counselor Theron, or former First Counselor, as the old hierarchies had given way to new, more collaborative forms of governance. I hope I'm not intruding, Theron said, his once rigid crystalline form now showing hints of organic warmth. But there's something you both need to see. He led them to a newly constructed quantum observatory. Inside, scientists of both heritage worked together, monitoring the cosmic quantum web that connected all living things. "We've detected something," a young researcher said, her form shifting excitedly between states. "The quantum awakening that started here? It's spreading. Other worlds, other species, they're beginning to remember too." The main screen showed planets across the galaxy pulsing with familiar resonance patterns. Ancient barriers were dissolving as species after species awakened to their own forgotten connections. It was never just about humans and Celestians, was it? Arya asked, understanding dawning in her eyes. Theron shook his head. The separation happened across the universe, different aspects of consciousness taking different forms. What you two started, it's healing divisions we never even knew existed. Nathan wrapped an arm around Arya, marveling at how natural it felt, the warmth of his human touch blending perfectly with her crystalline resonance. "So what happens now?" "Now?" Arya smiled, placing a hand over the crystal containing their child's heartbeat. "Now we do what we've always done. We explore. We learn. We love. But this time, we do it as our complete selves." As if in response, the quantum web displayed a new pattern, a harmonious blend of all known life forms, pulsing like a universal heartbeat. In that pattern, they could see the future, not a uniform homogeneity, but a celebration of diversity united by understanding and love. "You know," Nathan said, watching the display, "when I first met you, I thought I was falling in love with an alien. And I thought I was breaking laws by loving a human," Arya replied with a laugh that sent sparkles of light dancing through the air. "Turns out we were just remembering how to be ourselves," Nathan finished, pulling her close. Outside, the twin moons rose over the transformed Earth, their light playing across cities where crystal met steel, where stardust met soil, where love had proven stronger than ancient laws. In nurseries and laboratories, schools and spacecraft, the children of two worlds turned one grew up knowing they were whole, that the universe was more mysterious and wonderful than anyone had imagined. And in the quantum web that connected all things, Arya and Nathan's story continued to resonate, a reminder that love doesn't just break barriers, it reveals they were illusions all along. Their child would be born into a world without divisions, where the only law that mattered was the one written in the hearts of all conscious beings, that in love, we find our truest selves. As stars wheeled overhead, human and Celestian, flesh and crystal, past and future merged into a single eternal moment. In that moment, every forbidden love story ever written found its echo, and every barrier ever built faced the ultimate truth, that love, in all its forms, was the force that moved the universe toward wholeness. The transformation they had begun would continue for generations, spreading across the cosmos like ripples in the quantum foam of spacetime. But for now, in this garden where crystal flowers bloomed alongside organic roses, Arya and Nathan simply held each other, their forms shifting between states, their hearts beating in quantum harmony with the pulse of a universe remembering how to be whole again.